President talking tariffs and the economy. If you look at our new Fox News poll at 100 days job approval compared to other presidents, there you see the president at 44%, and you see his first term at 45%.
It up. You know what else? Brett Baer had a beautiful graphic. I might frame it on my wall that had the approval ratings for the last 6 presidents for the first 100 days. Donald Trump is now the lowest.
Damn! Well, it appears not only have Fox News had enough, but so have their viewers. Now, if you're wondering how Trump handled the news that a Fox News poll had him so far underwater that Ben Shapiro would suggest beachfront property to him in the future as sea levels rise.
So let's say, for the sake of argument, that all of the water levels around the world rise by let's say 5 feet over the next 100 years, say 10 feet by the next 100 years, and it puts all the low-lying areas on the coast underwater, right? Which, let's say all of that happens. You think that people aren't going to just sell their homes and move?
Just one small problem. Sell their houses to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!
Well, he took it on the chin, of course. Clearly at the wind-up, he raged at Rupert Murdoch in a Truth Social post that the 94-year-old media mogul who owns his once prized megaphone, saying, quote, "He's told me for years that he's going to get rid of his Fox News Trump-hating fake pollster, but he has never done so. The pollster has gotten me and MAGA wrong for years."
I don't know, Robert. Some of the people we talked to say incompetent's probably the wrong word. Unclear might be a better word. What do you say?
I mean, I've been in finance for 40 years. This is probably the biggest manufactured crisis I've seen with a bunch of unforced errors. The execution of Liberation Day was pathetic. I mean, you have Kevin Hassett in 2019 be very clear, trade wars are bad, tariffs are a tax. Steve Moore, another Trump advisor, trade wars are bad, tariffs are a tax. The GOP, tariffs are a tax, trade wars are bad, we're for free trade. You saw April until, for the most part, the president blinked both on Fed Chairman Powell, which I'm glad, as well as the China trade war. Then the markets recovered somewhat, but it was on for the worst month since 1932. And that's not even considering what's going on with bonds, where there has been an incredible lack of confidence in the U.S. dollar and U.S. investments.
Now, the poll that got his orange all red showed him with a 44% overall approval rating 100 days into his presidency. 1 point lower than the ever so dire figure that he posted at the same checkpoint in his first term. It was also way below the mark Fox polling had found for former presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush, which really wound him up.
So next week, President Trump plans to celebrate the 100th day of his second term with a rally in Michigan, but new numbers suggest voters are not pleased with the job he's done so far. According to the latest Fox News poll, overall approval of Trump's job performance comes in at 44%. That's down 5 points from 49% approval just last month in March. So now to put that into context, that is lower than the approval of Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush at their 100-day marks in their presidencies. It is also lower than Trump's approval, in fact, at this point 8 years ago. Contributing to Trump's underwater start, voter disapproval on every single one of his policies except the border. According to New York Times analysis, Trump's job approval has been on a steady downward trajectory now for months. But so far, the Trump administration is not backing down on anything.
Notably, just 33% approved of Trump's tariffs, a topic that even his once co-bromander-in-chief Elon Musk voiced his concern over. Now, discussing the data on air Wednesday evening, Fox News hosts Brett Baer and Brit Hume acknowledged that the numbers were not great for the president.
If you look at our new Fox News poll at 100 days job approval compared to other presidents, there you see the president at 44%. And you see his first term at 45% at this mark, the 100-day mark. We have other new polls that are revealing some concerns about the economy. Let's talk about that, the politics and these polls. Fox News chief political analyst Brit Hume joins me. Brit, you've looked at these. What strikes you?
Well, a couple of things. There's a list of issues that we asked people what they felt about. And the president is underwater in all but one, and that one is the border, where he's got high approval on that, majority approval. He's above water. Everything else, including immigration, which for some reason was separated from the border in this particular poll, he's a little bit underwater on immigration. He's way down right at the moment on the economy, and even way down further on tariffs, which are, of course, part of that. So, foreign policy rating isn't good and so on. My thought about this is not really unexpected in my view, Brett. His overall approval rating, as you noted earlier, is 44%. So much of what he's undertaken remains a work in progress. And, they haven't got any trade deals yet. The tariffs are out there and people are worried about them and don't like them. We don't know how that's going to play out. We don't know how the foreign policy endeavors are going to pan out. We don't have peace between Ukraine and Russia, which he promised. So there's a lot of work to be completed, which, if done successfully, I think would dramatically elevate his current approval rating.
Following a recent trend of Fox News hosts seemingly shelving their once grotesque pandering as they made every attempt to showcase Trump in the best light. But that has become an uphill task recently, with Fox's own polls coinciding with many across the board.
Do you think this is the dry hole we're portraying it as, or do you see some benefit for the Democrats continuing to get behind this guy?
Well, there's definitely benefit to it. And that doesn't mean that I don't think the majority of the emphasis should be on the economy. But if you look at our own latest polling, the Fox poll that came out yesterday, Reuters, YouGov, Quinnipiac, now Donald Trump is underwater on immigration, which was his strongest issue. So he's above on the border, right, and deportations. But generally speaking on immigration, he's underwater. 2-1 margins in the YouGov poll that Americans think that Albrego Garcia should be brought back here.
Because they're not getting the information.
No, it's not because they're not getting the information. What they were able to do, actually, is understand contextually what is going on here. So if it's not just about Albrego Garcia, it is about...
What was the question? What was the poll question? I guarantee you.
Now you're a pollster.
No, I'm just saying, I guarantee you it was worded in a way to get an intended answer. I can guarantee
you that our own polling that showed him underwater on immigration was fair, and that the American public thinks that his policies are too hard. The CEOs of Walmart and Target and Home Depot have to go into his office and beg him to stop so that the shelves won't be empty. There are containers coming from China that can't get here because of these tariffs, 145%. Or maybe it's 50%.
What does this have to do with the Maryland dad?
Right.
It has to do with what Trump is doing. And there are all of these GOP appointed judges that are ruling against him, saying a path of perfect lawlessness, brazen example of retaliation.
Put it this way, you're just actually undoing your whole point, Jessica.
No, I'm not.
Because they are focusing on this guy who basically every day we find out, I don't know how he could be underwater. He might be under 50%, but he's not underwater on immigration.
Fine. Reuters, YouGov, Quinnipiac, just honestly,
he's winning on deportation. You admitted that.
But
right.
2-1 that this guy should be returned. Listen,
keep defending a gangbanger all you want.
But you're saying they should emphasize the economy. That's what you're saying.
I understand that you want me to try to unravel everything that I said. The economy is what drives people to the polls. He now only has a 27% rating with Hispanic voters because he's not focused on the economy and their costs haven't gone down.
Isn't good is to one day say tough talk on China. You're charging us now 145%. It's not going to be that way. And, we're going to threaten you.
That's what I wanted to hit on.
Right.
If it's not going to be that way, then tell us what it is going to be. Because if you're going to substantially walk back the tariffs, then businesses and China would like to know. 145 is pretty harsh.
It's a lot.
So where are we going to end up? And I think, I'm just looking at this market and saying we were up over 1,000 points. And now with these trickles coming out, which seemingly sound positive that they're actively talking and we're going to have a fair trade deal. But the market, I think, is skeptical of that, which is why the Dow is only up 400 and change.
And as Trump stands in front of reporters lying about ongoing negotiations with China, the price of groceries and inflation, it's no wonder that even those once cocooned off from reality on Fox can no longer sit idly by.
Confronted with China pouring cold water on Donald Trump's version of reality, Trump said this.
A question on China. Can you clarify with whom the U.S. is speaking with China? They're saying it's fake news that trade talks are happening.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is.
They just doesn't include China and the U.S., according to China. New York Times reports this, quote, in private, some Trump officials concede that they did not accurately predict China's reaction. Trump seemed to expect China to be among the first to come begging for relief, given the size of its exports to the U.S.
He is underwater, and Murdoch wants to jump from the ship that he's helped keep afloat for countless years.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.